Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Friday morning, the 5th of December. In this video we're going back to Nova Scotia to the case of missing siblings 6-year-old Lily and now 5-year-old Jack Sullivan from Lansdowne Station. Can you believe that it's 2 weeks since I last talked about Lily and Jack's case? It's because there's been a lot going on in the Summer Wells case. I've been concentrating on that case, but today I want to go back to Lily and Jack. I haven't forgotten them, it's just that there is nothing new. Since the end of the search from the volunteer organisation Please Bring Me Home, there's been nothing. Daniel, the children's stepdad, has been very quiet. Apparently he's taken a step back because, he was in Facebook groups, he was talking to the media whenever, they needed a quote, then they'd go to Daniel. I don't blame him. It's a double-edged sword. While a member of the family is talking a lot, it keeps the interest up in the case because you can analyse what they've said, you can look at their body language, you can dissect every single word. Whether that person is innocent or not, it will take its toll. It really will. I've said for a long time that Daniel is his own worst enemy. Some of the stuff that Daniel has said makes him look suspect. Some of the inconsistencies that have crept in to the case, not just because of Daniel, but it's very easy to say, look, this guy is suspect when you're in a situation like Daniel put himself in. Having said that, everybody remaining quiet means there's nothing to talk about because there's nothing new from RCMP. That search from Please Bring Me Home was the last one probably until the spring. In Canada, the snowfall, the winter, is pretty harsh. So searching in those conditions, practically impossible. It's not like they're having to go out in extreme conditions expecting to find the children alive. If somebody goes missing in extreme conditions, then of course search parties will go out to try to rescue them. But when you get to a point where, it's a recovery mission, then putting searchers at risk in situations where the chances of finding remains are very slight, then it's just not worth it. So the chances are, unless someone comes across Lily and Jack's remains accidentally, like a hunter or a dog walker or something, we're not going to see any progress in the case until spring. The other way that we could see a break is if the children were abducted or murdered and someone starts to talk. What we're going to do in this video, we're going to look at some of the most common theories and we're going to consider Occam's razor. What is the simplest explanation that has the fewest assumptions? Let's go. Before we get into the video, I kind of just ask, if you're not yet subscribed, please do so. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Less than a month to go, and I've got about 1,200 subscribers to find from somewhere. So if you watch my videos and you're not subscribed, it's completely free. Just click on the subscribe button and you are done. If you are subscribed, you can still help the channel by liking the videos, leaving a comment, hyping the video if you see the hype button, and sharing my videos. All of those things can encourage new people to subscribe to the channel. It shows the YouTube algorithm that people are engaging with the content and it will push it out to a wider audience. Okay, the best place to go for rumours, theories, speculations are the Facebook groups. So I'm going to read just a few posts from this just to highlight some of the theories that people are still talking about. We're over 7 months now into the case. It was the 7 months mark on the 2nd of December. It's a long time, but people are still posting the Facebook groups many times a day. So there's still a lot of interest in this case, at least on social media, even though nothing new is coming out. I'm just going to read the first few top posts here. One of my hobbies is watching every cop cam video I can get my hands on. Yeah, they're good, aren't they? Based on hundreds of these, here's my theory. The meth use somehow accidentally killed both kids. It's easy to contaminate things and poison little ones accidentally. I've seen it again and again and again in these videos. I suspect something happened completely accidentally and someone made the kids disappear. I tell you, that's a theory that's been rumbling around since the early days, since the accusations of Daniel using drugs, and he has admitted to using drugs. Could the kids have got their hands on something illicit, poisonous? Yes, of course they could. If they were unattended, which sounds like they were, while Daniel and Malaya slept, then yeah, absolutely possible. But it would mean that both Daniel, Malaya and Janie, Daniel's mother, are all lying. So it would mean that if the kids were dead, and Daniel said that the polygraph that he took, it was all focused on Lilly and Jack being dead, not Lilly and Jack being disappeared alive, but Lilly and Jack being dead. He had to provide answers that appeared truthful to the polygraph while lying through his teeth. We don't know the type of questions Malaya was asked. We do know that Janie took a polygraph, but it wasn't analysed. She wasn't a suitable candidate because of her heart condition. So in the court documents that give us information about the investigation up to mid-July, there's a lot maybe that we don't know, but it tells us about polygraph results. May 12th, Daniel underwent a polygraph examination. The analysis of polygraph tracings associated to Daniel's polygraph examination indicated he was truthful, i.e. that he passed. People are saying, well, just because it says they're truthful doesn't mean they pass. Yes, it does. If they're deceptive, it means they fail. We don't know what questions was asked. Same day, Malaya underwent a polygraph and willingly agreed to undergo a polygraph in relation to this investigation. She was found to have been truthful when answering the following questions. So we assume that's all of the questions that were asked. You know, if there was deception, it would say so, wouldn't it? June 10th, Janie underwent a polygraph and physiology not suitable for analysis. June 12th, Cody, the children's biological father. We'll talk a little bit about Cody in a minute. Underwent a polygraph. Again, we don't know what questions was asked, but indicating he was truthful. Cindy, that's Malaya's mother, also indicated she was truthful. Wade, who is Cindy's boyfriend, underwent a polygraph and indicated he was truthful. Now, at least for Daniel and Malaya, they would have had to have provided truthful answers, even though they were lying through their teeth. So you've got to bear that in mind. I mean, polygraphs are not admissible in court, but it's more likely to get a sign of deception when you're actually being truthful than it is to be able to get truthful responses if you are lying. So there's that, and we do have to keep that in mind. Something is wrong with the mother who doesn't actively search for her own children day or night. A true mama bear would have burning eyes from tears and lack of sleep. A true mom would never stop, then a page like this wouldn't exist. We don't know what Malaya's been doing. I do find it odd, and I've said this again and again and again, that she left the day after the children disappeared. Like she knew they weren't coming back. I mean, that is odd. I find that strange. Unless living arrangements with Daniel were absolutely untenable and were scary and terrifying and it was a way out. Unless any of that was happening, then I do find it really odd. In terms of searching, in the early stages of an investigation, the cops don't want parents searching. They just don't. They want to keep their eyes on the parents. The parents are suspects until otherwise you're ruled out. RCMP have consistently said there's no sign of criminal activity in this case, but then again, we don't know what we don't know, and that could be the same for the cops as well. Even now, could be the same for the cops. You know, they want to keep their eyes on the parents. They don't want them out searching. Also, they don't want parents finding their dead children. It's a horrible thing. That said, as soon as the cops left, I'd be out there. I really would. But not everybody's the same. Some people can't handle it. What she's doing, though, behind the scenes, we don't know. There is a rumour that she's left the reserve. There's also a rumour that she's been in hospital. I don't know whether any of that is true, but just saying. Seems to me there's a lot of notices coming into the news of Colchester and adjoining counties exercising a lot of search warrants for ongoing matters. 3 in the last 24 hours. Wouldn't it be a miracle if one of these warrants uncovered a lead in Jack and Lily's case? It would be. Lots of crimes exist. Search warrants are written for all sorts of different reasons. It would be a chance in a million if one of those did pertain to Lily or Jack. Oh, it's Meadow's second birthday. Oh, happy birthday, Meadow. Meadow, of course, is currently in foster care. Really appreciate Daniel from the Drunk Turkey Show. He's really great to listen to because he follows the facts. No speculations, no drama, no trashing individuals, no guilt shaming. He was right. Dogs are not robots. Those woods are thick and vast, and there are only 2 dogs to my knowledge. However, my 4 dogs can definitely find a rotten dead animal, so can mine. But Daniel does claim they are not in the woods. Maybe he thinks they got picked up. That's possible. I know from listening to some school officials from school and some mummies with autistic children, they can sure run away fast. They do. They can. Kids can run like the wind, and they can keep going for a lot longer than you think. In relation to the 2 dogs, that's the cadaver dogs. There was 2 cadaver dogs, which were brought in months after Lily and Jack went missing. I mean, I don't know why it took them so long to bring cadaver dogs to the scene. We know from listening to the handlers that they searched the property. Each dog searched the entire property. So there's 2 acres of land owned by Janie around the immediate trailer. They also searched the area where the boot prints were, the area where the blanket was found. We'll recap those in a moment. They didn't find any evidence of human remains. Does that mean that the children were never there, that they never went out to the woods, that they just didn't wander away? Or does it mean that they're just not in that immediate area? Either of those things could be true. But if we want to consider Occam's razor, come on to that in a moment. Just came across this case a couple of weeks, month ago. Read a lot, but there's one thing I can't find. There's so much to read and watch. Can anybody fill me in on the biological father of these children? Where is he? Could he have taken them? I don't see anything about it. Maybe it was discussed in the beginning when I didn't. Yes, it was discussed extensively. The father is called Cody Sullivan. He's the son of Belinda, the children's paternal grandmother, who has done a lot to publicise Jack and Lily's case. Cody lives with Belinda. It is completely untrue that Cody Sullivan has been in and out of jail. There is another Cody Sullivan in the jail system that people assumed was him initially. It's not him. He lost his job, lived with Belinda for probably the last year, if not more at this point. He has not been involved in Jack and Lily's lives for the last 3 years. Malaya and Cody split up when Jack was just a little baby. Lily would have been a toddler. She went for custody and Cody checked out. Didn't want to be involved in their lives anymore, which is really sad, but he is not involved. However, Cody was investigated by the cops early on in the case. So we're going to read this section here in the court documents relating to Cody. On May the 3rd, blank reported to police that Jack and Lily's biological father might have them. The following is a summary. At 12:45 a.m, Constable Askew received a phone call from RCMP dispatch. It said Malaya had called and indicated Cody Sullivan may have picked up Jack and Lily. She said didn't have any proof of this. She just wanted to make sure every possibility was looked into. So I hadn't seen them for 3 years and then just suddenly decided to go and pick them up. Well, I don't think he would have known where they lived because Belinda didn't know where they lived, and that's a whole different story that I'm not going to talk about in this video, but I have done in previous videos. So I don't think Cody would have even known where they lived. 12:57 a.m, Constable Askew received a second message through RCMP dispatch, wanted to know if Cody had been contacted and said he might have taken the children to New Brunswick. She also said that Cody did not know where the children lived. There was a follow-up though, and Belinda has talked about this in an interview, that they just turned up in the middle of the night. So Constable Gay met with Cody at his residence at approximately 2:50 a.m. Cody said he had not seen Jack and Lilly in 3 years and confirmed they were not with him. May 7th, Constable Conlon met with Cody because a tip had been received that he was seen by a hotel employee in New Brunswick with Jack and Lilly. Obtained a photograph of Cody with his vehicles, attended Cody's residence and confirmed he was there. Cody agreed to be photographed and allowed vehicles on his property to be photographed as well. So he's not in New Brunswick, he's at home. On May 22nd, Cody said he used to be in a relationship with Malaya and they had Jack and Lilly together, not seen them in a couple of years, but paid child support. He said he didn't know what happened to Jack and Lilly. He was home on May 2nd and never goes anywhere. He's not been anywhere other than his house recently and had no contact with Malaya since the children went missing. And we do know also that he passed a polygraph. So that's what we know about Cody Sullivan. Not a criminal, not involved in the children's lives, and I think he's been ruled out by RCMP as having any involvement in the children's disappearance. Dig here. Why? Why would we dig there? I know that Janie had said that she was raking the area so that they could put a pool down, and then she said she wasn't raking the area. I mean, look. The cops aren't stupid. They can tell the difference between an area that's been raked. It's like just basically the top layer of soil or the gravel has been disturbed. But if you're digging to put bodies in, then you're going to see disturbance that's way beyond raking. That area there has not been dug up recently. Right, listen. Who is this person? Lilly Jack. Go and dig a hole in your own backyard. Put something in it and then put the earth back. You will see very obvious disturbance. Because you had to put the earth somewhere. If you put stuff in, you never get the earth back. You just, look, no, don't dig there. There's nothing there. Now, what do we know? During the initial searches, a little section of blanket was found that was deemed to be Lily's blanket. Canada works in kilometres. A kilometre is 0.6 miles. So if we look at how far this was from Lilly and Jack's house, if Lilly and Jack had deposited this blanket, like they'd taken this piece of blanket and walked along here, so they walked along Gerlach Road and then turned right up Lansdowne Road, and then the blanket's just a few feet in. That's 1.3 kilometres. You're looking at around about a mile away from the home. And we can go to street level and see exactly where that blanket was found, because if you see there's a tag that the cops put on a tree to say that that's where the blanket was found. So this is an ATV trail off Lansdowne Road. And if Lilly and Jack turned down here, so they walked up the road and then turned down here, how did the blanket end up in a tree? Was that blanket planted? I don't know. I honestly don't know. They could have thrown it in there, I guess. Why they took it in the first place, who knows? We know Lilly had a backpack with her. There's been talk that Lilly had a doll with her. Nothing like that has been found, so I don't know. Pertaining to the blanket, in the court documents, family members found the blanket. So it wasn't the cops that found the blanket, it was family members. So it was Hayley and Hayden. And Hayden's girlfriend found the blanket around 4 p.m. They showed a picture to Malaya and Daniel, who confirmed the blanket belonged to Lilly. They went back to the location to seize the blanket. Corporal Martin and his police dog were called to the area. He took photographs of the blanket. He walked for about 1 kilometre in the area with his dog on an adjacent trail. They did not pick up a scent to complete a track. I think this possibly is the reason why. Although, obviously, this is just a speculation. The dog that was used was not a scent-specific dog. It was looking for any unusual human scent, i.e. not his handler. But Hayden, Hayley, Aiden's girlfriend, they'd all been in this area. recently, more recently than if Lilly and Jack passed by. So the dominant scent here would have been that of Hayley, Hayden, and Hayden's girlfriend, whose name escapes me. Well, they didn't walk up here. If they'd had a scent-specific dog who was only looking for Lilly and Jack's scent, then maybe they would have got a track. So again, I talk a lot about search dogs on this channel because dogs are used so often in cases. And of course, dogs are not robots. Of course, dogs sometimes fail to find a track when there's one there. Sometimes that track's too old, or it's disintegrated, or in this case, it's the wrong type of dog. They need a scent-specific dog. In a case where there's a lot of searchers out who've, they've been out there for hours, and they've got stronger scents than Lilly and Jack. Because if Lilly and Jack pass by here at, let's say, 9:30, by 4 p.m, when this dog gets out there, that's 7 hours previous, whereas Hayden, Hayley, and Hayley's girlfriend had just been there. So I think that's the problem. And then the boot prints were found on the pipeline trail. So this pipeline is a gas pipeline. It's like underground. This trail is kept clear. I'm going to do this on Google Maps because Google Earth is way too clunky. So the pipeline's here. So again, go down to street level. Have a look for the pipeline. So here's the pipeline trail. And you see people do use it. Walk along it. Take ATVs along it. And the boot prints were found along this trail. So if Lilly and Jack had deposited the blanket, so here, how did they leave boot prints along here? Well, they could have doubled back and gone back to the road and then got that way. But why? Because if they carried on walking up here, there is a track. So it's not like Lilly and Jack have got to go into the woods to follow these trails, go up there, come out here, and then the boot prints were found somewhere in this vicinity. If we go to the section in the court documents, boot prints were found on the pipeline by ground search and rescue Friday night, so the same day that Lilly and Jack had been missing, but in the evening, into Saturday morning. There were clumps of them, and they were at 2 different sizes. They were small in size and corresponded to what children would wear. They focused their search in the area because of the boot prints. They did grid searches in the area of the boot prints and expanded out to waterways in the area as well. They conducted more searching in the area of the house. They brought in heavy urban dogs who used air scenting to find people that are alive. Again, wrong dogs. They should have had scent-specific dogs out there. They heard reports of people with kids out searching, so they were not sure if the boot prints belonged to Lilly and Jack. So they did further investigations and found that the size of the boots was the same size as Lily's. They were able to work that out from when Malia purchased the boots in March. So unless there was 2 other children out here in the middle of nowhere with the same size boots as Lilly, then they have to be Lilly and Jack's boots. So it means Lilly and Jack passed this way. But where would they go from here? Because there was a lot of searching done in this area. My guess is that if Lilly and Jack were out here and wandered away, they'd gone out of the search area, that they'd gone further than anybody's ever anticipated. So where would they have gone? Along here, carried on walking until they became exhausted and then died from exposure. They could have turned off down these trails for whatever reason. Something interests them along this trail, or did they just keep on walking? To me, given these boot prints, given the fact that they didn't use scent-specific dogs, Occam's razor, let's see what AI says about Occam's razor. The simplest explanation for any event or phenomenon is usually the best one. It's usually the most likely. The most simple explanation that has the fewest assumptions is the most likely thing to have happened. So how it works. When faced with two or more competing explanations for the same thing, Occam's razor suggests choosing the one that is simpler. Entities should not be multiplied beyond necessity. The classic phrasing of the principle, meaning don't introduce more concepts or entities than are needed to explain the situation, shaving away complexity. The razor refers to the act of cutting away unnecessary parts, like assumptions from a theory. Examples. If you have a headache, it's more likely caused by a dehydration or a common cold than a rare brain tumour. Well, brain tumours are not that rare, and people do get brain tumours. So sometimes when you have a headache, you do have a brain tumour. A flat tyre. If your tyre is flat, it's most likely you picked up a nail, then someone intentionally slashed it. As the nail explanation requires fewer extra assumptions. Yeah, but people do get their tyres slashed. A website with clear calls to action and straightforward navigation is often more effective than one with too many features and complex layouts. Yeah, but there are websites with complex layouts and they're annoying. They're not good examples, honestly. When you hear hoofbeats, it's more likely a horse than a zebra. But then again, zebras exist. What am I saying here? Well, all things considered, Occam's razor would be, given there's no sign of a crime, given there's at least a little bit of evidence that Lilly and Jack could have been out there, the most likely explanation is that Lilly and Jack wandered off and they just haven't been found because perhaps they've walked out of the search area. They've walked further than anybody thought. That's the simplest explanation that requires the least amount of assumptions. However, unfortunately, don't think we're going to get any answers to this case anytime soon. Stranger things have happened, though. Anyway, I'll leave it there for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh, and next episode of Cold Case Christmas will be out at 6 p.m. UK time over on my other channel, Michelle Walks. What is Cold Case Christmas? Well, it's a different cold case. Could be missing persons case, an unsolved murder every single day from the 1st up to and including December 24th, like opening an advent calendar. The cases we've covered already are Christine David, Amanda Overstreet, Noreen Greenley and Caden Moses. What will episode 5 be? Well, check it out later. Here's the trailer.